So Karen, I'll then introduce you. But what I'm going to do first is just thank SCRO for allowing me to be the moderator of today's session. I'm on the SCRO board, and I'm very pleased to be asked to be the moderator. The way we're going to do it, we're going to shift here. So Karen, I'm going to introduce more fully in a minute, but we'll hear from Karen. There'll be opportunity for questions and comments in chat. And then once we finish that, Randell will be rejoining us. I'll fully introduce Randell, and then we'll have more questions and comments. And we'll likely finish around 7:50 or so, depending on the comments received. So that's, I'm sure there'll be people joining us as well. I know actually my daughter's going to be joining us, and it's her birthday today. So if she does, I'll wait till she joins because I want to surprise her if she does. So. Anyways, Karen, so I'm so happy to have you present to us on our Scarborough series. I had a chance to meet you when you were running for mayor, and I was so impressed by your campaign. And I also learned you had a great sense of humor when you're talking. So it was so refreshing to hear from you. You're president and CEO of Variety Village, an incredible, important, all-inclusive family organization in Southeast Scarborough, and it's been serving hundreds of thousands of families since 1949. I know that before you joined Variety Village, you were city councilor for 11 years, and while serving as council, you also served as chair of the Toronto Transit Commission. And I know that when you were there, it was the third largest transit commission in North America. And also you were involved in large capital budgets and a modernization and innovation of the TTC. So you accomplished a lot in that role. You've worked as a past for the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care and the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board. So you have a wide variety of experience to share with us and share with the folks that you interact with. I'm so impressed with you're very well educated with a Master's of Public Administration from Queen's, a Bachelor of Science in Communication from Boston University, and a Bachelor of Arts from Western University. We're all looking forward to welcoming you tonight. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dave. That's a very kind introduction. And I do want to thank SCRO as well, because since my time at Variety, actually SCRO has been a great supporter of Scarborough and supporter of Variety. And it's really been, for me, really wonderful to see how much you advocate for Scarborough and all the work that you've been done and all the community leaders that you bring together. And so I just want to thank you very much. And even in this time of, there's no words to really describe the time we're in now. We are where we are, but that you continue to bring the community together during all this time, Marg and SCRO and everybody who does and participates is really a tribute to the leadership of Scarborough. And I just want to thank you for continuing to invite me to be part of it. And I want to give a special shout out to Marg and to Councillor McKelvey and to my friend Manny, who without fail come and join my talks and without fail are huge champions for Scarborough. And I want to thank you for the work that you do. And Dave, just one quick note about my education. Many people comment, my staff, my family, that I'm book smart. I have no sense of direction. I'm constantly lost. I'm not street smart. I am book smart. And so I like studying. I went to school for a long time in a lot of different schools. And my dad mused if I was ever going to get a job. And I said, of course I'll get a job one day. And during that same time period of that discussion, my cousin got engaged to be married, and my dad was so thrilled. He bought my cousin a bottle of Dom Perignon. And I said, Dad, do I have to get engaged to get a bottle of Dom Perignon? And he said, no, you just need to get a job. And so sure enough, I did. I went out and got a job, and I got my bottle of Dom. It's the only bottle of Dom I've ever had. So that put an end to my academic career. But yes, I did spend some time in politics. And again, Councillor, hats off to you. It's been a very difficult time. And now I'm at Variety. And again, I feel really privileged to be at Variety because Variety's been serving the community for 70 years.
No, Nora Gold.
Well,
and many of you are familiar with Variety. But again, over the 70 years, it's had a focus on serving kids with disabilities. And I may have mentioned before that Variety is actually part of an international charity. We're in 13 countries across the globe. And how Variety started, maybe familiar to some of you, maybe not to others, but it was in the 1920s, late 1920s. There was a child left in a theater in Philadelphia, 8 months old, with a note pinned to her. And the note said, please look after my daughter. I have 8 more at home and my husband lost his job. I can't feed her. Please give her a life. And the theater was chosen as the place for this child because the theater district and the owners of the entertainment sector at the time, that was where the wealth was. And so the fathers in Philadelphia came together and formed the charity called Variety and took care of this little girl and recognized the need to care for children that didn't have, that were underprivileged. And so the charity itself is actually 90 years old and has been for 90 years, again, in countries across the globe, helping kids realize their full potential, whether it be through lack of funding, lack of breakfast, lack of opportunity, lack of education, or with a disability. So in Ontario, the mission that we adopted was to help children with a disability get an education. And when Variety Village was first built in 1948, it was built as a school. And Prince Philip actually came to break ground at the school and to christen the school and give blessing to the school, and had come back to visit it again. And so at during his death and his funeral, we did fly our flag at half-mast in honor of his commitment to variety and what he believed in, because he did believe that children with a disability deserved an education, because we all know without an education that's a child at a minimum needs a good education to be able to experience and take advantage of their opportunities in life. And we like to think we were trailblazers, because for 30 years we were a school, and we like to say that we broke down barriers in education, because in that 30-year period, the school boards recognized how important and vital an education was for a child, and they opened up their doors to children with a disability. And then more recently, we became a center for parasport training, and we became a facility. We built our pool, we added our field house. And I think some of you may know my fun fact that I love to tell at every opportunity, that since the 1970s, variety athletes and coaches have represented our nation at every single Summer Paralympic Games. And so that's a real history and legacy that we're really quite proud of. And so now we turn into the current day, and again, our focus is on kids with disabilities. And the main thread that we've woven through our history is that, how do we continue to support kids realize their full potential and help these kids become ambassadors, that they can go and break down barriers in their own communities, and so that we can all benefit from a more accessible community. And so when I came to Variety, we were in a period of transition, because we were no longer that provincial resource for Paralympic athletes. The Pan Am Games had come, newer facilities had been built, and we were struggling to figure out how it is we continue to break down barriers for kids with disabilities in communities outside of Scarborough. And we do receive $1 million from the province in operating funds. And I think maybe it was my second month on the job, I got a visit from the province, and they said, really glad to meet you, Karen, glad you're in this role, glad you're doing what you're doing, but we just want to tell you that we don't fund community centers. And so you're going to have to figure out where to get your $1 million. And our suggestion is that you go to the city. And I immediately broke out into hives, because I had just come from the city as a city councillor, and I knew that there wasn't $1 million there to fund Variety Village. So quickly got together with the team and said, okay, we need to figure out how we're going to broaden our brand, increase our impact, help more kids with disabilities, because we've become very local. But kids with disabilities don't just live in Scarborough. They live all over Ontario. So how are we going to be that provincial resource again? Because throughout our history, we had been a provincial resource. We had been a provincial school. We had been a provincial parasport facility. Now we needed to figure out how we could be a provincial organization helping kids across the province participate in sport and recreation at a grassroots level to help these kids realize their full potential. Because after an education, sport is the next most important thing that a child can have to help them realize and build confidence and socialize and build skills. And we know from the studies that are at large that many CEOs, a large majority of CEOs, actually were part of a competitive team. So for these kids to learn these skills is so critical. And also so critical because these kids, there was a survey done in the Globe and Mail, and over 50% of kids with disabilities self-reported that they didn't have a friend. And this was before the pandemic, before the lockdowns, before the isolation, before all that we are experiencing. And the one thing that certainly COVID has helped elevate our understanding of how detrimental it is to someone's mental health and well-being to be isolated, to be alone, to have the social connection that is so important, the fabric that knits us together, these kids don't have. And so that became a real marching call for us to say, how are we going to meet the needs of these kids? And so we started, and I think I mentioned to you in previous discussions how we started to launch these programs. One program was called Volt Hockey, and another one was called Children in Motion. And Volt Hockey is a great program all on its own, but today I want to talk a little bit about Children in Motion and why that program has been so remarkable in so many ways. Because we went to our funders and we said, we need to figure out how to reach these kids where they are. We can't build more facilities. Ours is a $50 million facility now if we had to replace it. I can't do that all over Ontario. So we need to figure out how to partner and deliver our program through partnerships. So we went to York Region, we went to Mississauga, we went down to MLSE because they opened the launch pad, and we said, we've got this amazing program that we bring kids together, kids with disabilities, and we meet them where they are, and we introduce them to the Children in Motion program. Because this is actually usually the first program that these kids can participate in that then launches them into other parasport opportunities or other Special Olympic opportunities. But without this introduction to sport, without this opportunity to participate in a way that meets their needs, to build their skills and their confidence, then they don't go on to that next step. So we've got to figure out how to do this. And so we've got funding, we went in person, and it was really incredible. Steve was our coordinator, program coordinator. Steve was also a coach. He coached the Paralympic basketball team. He is great at motivating and understanding and meeting kids where they are. And he would go to downtown Toronto, he would go to York Region, he would go to Mississauga, and he would work with these kids. And our program was so great because it was structured, and that we knew we wanted these kids to develop skills and coordination and confidence, but it was flexible. And that, you know, some kids who are autistic, they don't follow instruction like other kids, but they need everything that our program provides nonetheless. And so sometimes Steve would spend 8 weeks helping a child walk on a beam. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but for these kids who'd never actually had a chance to walk on a beam independently, and for these parents to see these kids walk on a beam, it was life-changing for a lot of them. And then we saw them participate in gym. And the teachers would remark, you know, up until now, these kids would just sit off to the side. And part of it was the teachers didn't know how to integrate the kids into the programs, but part of it was just the child's reluctance to participate and feeling that discomfort of not knowing how. And our Children in Motion program introduced them to how they could participate, and it was that confidence of understanding that they could achieve. And one father, when we started the program in York Region, and I think I've told this story, so forgive me if I'm repeating, but you know, he brought his child to the first week, and halfway through the first session, you know, Steve noticed that they had left. So Steve called the dad and he said, I noticed that you took your son from the program. Was everything okay? Do I need to adapt or modify or change how it was delivered? And the dad said, my son is autistic, and I know my son well enough to know when he was about to act out. And I just knew it was going to happen. And I just decided to leave because I've been asked to leave every program that he's ever been in. And I just thought I'd leave before you asked me to. And Steve said, that's not our program. We know how to deal with kids that are acting out. If your son spends the first 4 weeks acting out, it's fine, because we'll get him to the place that he doesn't act out. Bring your son back. And he did. And it was so amazing. And the dad got to see his son finish a program. And it was remarkable. So I tell all that as background to say, when COVID hit, we're like, holy crap. The entire essence of our program is bringing kids together, helping them at their own speed. It's an organic delivery. Like we meet the needs of the kids. Like, how are we going to do that if we can't actually come together? So we thought, well, you know what? This is going to pass. So we'll wait it out. We thought, well, you know what? We'll just wait it out. We'll start again in the fall, right? Right? Like it's gonna pass. And then we're like, oh, it didn't pass. And we're like, okay, now what are we gonna do? Because even though the government said kids can go to the playground now, these kids don't go to the playground. And without places like Roddy Village, there's very few places that they can come. And so we thought, okay, we've got to figure this out. We've got to meet these kids where they're at. So we talked to our funders, and our funders were amazing because they had funded the program for 3 years, and we're already now, 6 months into the second year, and I haven't spent the money. And I'm like, do you want it back? And they're like, can you use it? I'm like, yeah. They said, then go use it. Do what you need to do. Get these kids what they need. And we're like, okay. And then the challenge for us was the magic of our program is the individualized approach.
You want to see yourself up? No.
The ability to have these kids achieve at their own pace. And also letting parents witness their children aspire and achieve and build and grow confidence. And also to have kids socialize. How are we going to do those things virtually? And in my mind, I'm like, okay, we've got to do it quick. We've got to get something up quick. And then we actually collectively took a step back, and we kind of looked at what happened in the school, and we reflected on our own experience as parents watching our kids with their eyes glazed over with Zoom classes. And, slowly but surely the kids were spiritually leaving the classroom because they weren't engaging. And our immediate response is, well, we just do what we do, but we do it online. And I'm like, but we actually can't do what we do online. And having Steve jump up and down and walk on a beam is not going to get us what we need for these kids. So we thought, okay, we know what the magic of the program is, but we don't know how to do this ourselves. And because our funders had been remarkable in helping us reallocate our program money, we thought we're going to go and we're going to get some help, and we're going to create something entirely new. An entirely new product that's going to, number one, meet kids where they are, be a little bit individualized. Number two, be fun, because, Steve's a great guy, but watching Steve jump up and down is not fun. Number three, find a space where these kids can have their achievement and then come together to talk about it. And then number four, make sure that the parents don't have to be there. They can be there. But if we have a program that relies on the parents being there to help their kids do this, then it doesn't give the parents the break that they might need as well. And so how are we going to do this? And it took so much longer than I was panicking, because I'm like, guys, COVID's going to be over before we get this. Stupid me. We got to get on this. We got to figure this out. And we did, actually. And so what we pulled together is we pulled together virtual adventures. And so we've got kids that are in a canoe, and they're going up mountains, and they're playing soccer tournaments, and they're going through valleys, and they're doing all these incredible things. And we created avatars. And so we've got characters. We've got Hartley and Pooch and Stickler, and they lead the kids through the programs. But what's the most remarkable thing that came out of this is that we actually got kids with disabilities to showcase the skills and to go with the avatars on the adventure. So this program runs for 8 weeks, and a new adventure drops each week. And then every second week, we have a Zoom link where Steve gets together with the kids so they can talk about their adventures. They can talk to each other. They can figure out how, if they're stuck on something, so you can help coach them through it. But it's that time that they can do their adventure on their own, but they can come together in a virtual play space. And then they can go back to do their adventure. And what's best is that it's no cost to the families. And in addition to the program, we provide the families with a kit. And it's not like we don't want to do anything that's going to cause the lampshade to fall down, but we wanted to give the kids something that they could use to play with, because they might, you know, the parents just might not have everything that the adventure requires. And so the feedback we've been getting from the families is one of such gratitude, because one of the dads said, my daughter's never seen a person with a disability do anything like that.
Apple cider only. You.
And so suddenly her disability wasn't unique. She was part of the adventure. And so it was so exciting that, and we were so thrilled. We launched this. And then I got a call from the province. And the province said, you know, so what's going on? Like, how things going on? Like, oh my God, you'll never believe what we've done. We've done this incredible thing with Children in Motion. Before we were only in 3 communities. Now we have the ability to go across Ontario. We can go across the nation, because we can just rerun this program and sign kids up from all over the province. I'm like, can you imagine kids with disabilities meeting each other from Sudbury and London and Windsor? And it's kids with disabilities that are showing the exercises. So finally, we've got this breakthrough, because these kids can see themselves on these adventures. And the province said, that's really remarkable. We would like to fund the next set of adventures. I'm like, yeah, I'll let you do that. So in 5 years, we've come from, you've got to justify your funding, to now your $1 million is secure, and now we're giving you more. And so, but for the necessity to figure out how we do this without being in person, we would not have done it. We wouldn't have probably gotten the buy-in from our funders to do the shifting of the resources. We wouldn't have thought it outside the box. We wouldn't have actually had to be crystallizing and be really clear, what is our value that we're bringing to about this program. But because of this, we now know. And we are so excited, because we think, because again, we're part of this global charity, we know we can now launch this across Canada, because we have partner varieties in Alberta, in BC, in Manitoba, and in Quebec. So now we've got an opportunity to meet these kids where they are across the country, to introduce kids from Ontario to BC to Alberta, you know, and again, give them an experience that they probably never even thought possible. So we're pretty excited about what we're doing, and really, really pleased that I'm able to tell you about all that we're trying to achieve at Variety.
Yeah, I think
and can't wait to tell you how the next phase of the adventure goes.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much. I have a disabled grandson, so I know everything you're talking about in terms of even having a friend and that sort of thing. So you're doing incredible work. I know we were planning on questions and answers, but I also know that Randell has now been moved to 7:45. So Randell, I think you're on. Are you able to go at like now? Randell? Okay, I've texted him, and Marg, if you can contact him as well. But with that, I'd just like to thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. And while we're waiting to hear from whether Randell is able to advance, are there any questions or comments that we'd like to ask Karen?
I'll go first, Dave.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Manny.
You know, Karen, I've known you for many, many years, but I've never seen you as excited as I am seeing you today on this program. And I think that's fantastic. Congratulations. And all I could say is that what can we do to help? What can we do to be there for Variety and your residents of at River Variety? So, because this sounds like a wonderful program.
It is. Thank you, Manny. And so I might come back to you guys, because as soon as we're getting a little promo piece for the program. And if we could continue to talk and figure out where we might be able to share it with SCRO so that people knew about it and then they could access the program. That would be great. Oh, here's Randell. Okay, so I'm going to mute.
Okay. So Randell, you're able to get started?
I am. Thank you.
Okay, let me introduce you, and thank you, Karen. I don't know who's the opening act here, who's not, but we have two great speakers. Randell, first of all, congratulations on your being nominated as Ontario's first poet laureate. We're all very proud of you, and I know all of Scarborough is very proud of you. We met first at when Ginny Smith was holding a celebration of excellence, and I remember hearing you, and I stopped you before you could get out. It was at the Stonehouse, and just because you blew me away, I'd never heard something as powerful as what you shared with us that night. You're a renowned spoken word artist, a poet, a motivational speaker, and a coach. What I was so impressed with is that your work as on the executive and creative director at RISE, which is Reaching Intelligent Souls Everywhere. Your support for youth expression is just unparalleled, and it's great. You were nominated, and I was so pleased to hear CBC's Torontonian of the Year. You released your first book in 2018 called I Am Not My Struggles. Again, so I know your evening is very busy and for Just Cause, but the floor is yours.
Well, firstly, thank you so much, Dave. Thank you to the whole committee. Thank you, Larry. Larry, good to see your face. And thank you, March, for organizing, and everyone else that organized. And I see Jennifer McKelvey's here, which is amazing. Karen, thank you for taking this time, and I appreciate your flexibility. As soon as I went on, they said that there's an announcement that was made from Alberta, so I was ready, and then they kicked me off. And then I came back, and you had already started. So, but anyways, I just wanted to take this time to say thank you so much for this space and time. Scarborough means a lot to me. And I remember when Marge reached out, I said, of course, I'd be happy to share. I didn't realize this would be where we are today, but honor nonetheless. I guess just to speak a little bit about some of the work I've been doing within Scarborough. For those who may not know, RISE started about 9 years ago, and just a little over 9 years ago. And the premise behind it was growing up in Scarborough, not having a space, an opportunity for us to express ourselves in a positive way. And I think what happened for me after a near-death experience, my friends wanted to retaliate in the same level of violence. And I realized that these friends maybe weren't people I wanted to keep around me. But I thought to myself, here are some guys who attacked me and almost took my life. And then here are my friends who wanted to retaliate by doing the same thing. And I think they're both on the same level. And a question I asked myself was, what could I do here? Where is the opportunity? And something I realized about life is that there are seeds of opportunity in adversity that we face. There's an opportunity for you to find light in darkness. At the end of the day, how do we appreciate the light without the darkness, right? We cannot have light without darkness, nor positivity without negativity at the end of the day. And so something that I've learned over the years is really, truly taking a moment for reflection, taking a moment for introspection and looking at ourselves. And I think there's something really special about taking that time to ask yourself things like, who am I and how am I and what is my purpose? What am I looking to do here on this earth? And so starting RISE was something that I felt was something Scarborough needed. And, I believe some of the work that SCRO has been doing, and I'll just speak on a little bit, is a method called design thinking. And some of you may have heard of design thinking, but design thinking is a human-centered approach to problem solving. Oftentimes when we're solving problems, we often may not ask the right questions. We may not take the time to understand who's being impacted by the problem. And so essentially what I really wanted to be able to do was galvanize a community's voice and create an opportunity from the need. Again, problem solving is a human-centered approach. And so that's essentially how RISE started. It's grown a lot. It's really ballooned over the years. And I think Scarborough has a place in my heart that I really wouldn't be who I am today without Scarborough. And so a lot of what I've been hoping to do is really about creating a legacy, creating a path, creating an opportunity for others, and honoring those who came before me. I'd like to share this first poem. I see, oh, my homie Charlie's here. Hello, Charlie. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. And so something I've learned in life is that, you know, of course, inevitably one day we'll be here, and of course our time will come where we will no longer be here, but it's not about the date we are born, or is it about the day we leave? I think it's really about that dash in between. And so this poem has to do with the dash. Here it goes. I often question if a coffin is where my legacy is destined. A rigor mortis reflection of me, buried 6 feet deep in the six, my legacy, my soul, awaiting the arrival of 12 disciples, and no remnants of me, no fruits of labor left for my seeds, not leaving this world better than when I came in. My name forgotten, not even whispered upon the lips of those my actions impacted. It's scary. I heard once that the worst thing that can happen to us when we are no longer here is not death itself. It is to be forgotten. And I cringe at the thought of my efforts lost in coffins, boxed in the same confines that caused me problems, my life, my beliefs, encrypted in tombstone, indicating the dates to and from. But I hope the dash in between represents more than just the good work I've done. My life blowing in the wind like the breath that has left my lungs, only to leave this world unfulfilled with holes in the potential that I was given, and respinning the same cycle to my children. See, when your time comes and your soul is sent, what will the dash on your tombstone represent? Thank you. That was my first poem called The Dash. I hope it inspires. I hope it reminds us that each and every single day we have an opportunity to create our legacy, to create a path and make it easier for those that are to come, especially at a time like this when you know, there's a lot of negativity happening. I think just a reminder that even a call to check in on someone, even a text to check in on someone, even just, hey, can we chat over the phone? It's something that can really change someone's life. And just wanted to highlight the importance of that. I have a couple other poems, but I just want to take a moment to just, you know, big up SCRO for the work you all have been doing, for the legacy that you all are creating for the renewal of Scarborough. And I know there's a lot of great things happening here in Scarborough as well. This next poem has to do with the power of the tongue. This has to do with the power of our words, how we can use our words in the direction of truly healing, in the direction of creating, in the direction of building. Yeah, that's essentially what it is. So this is the power of the tongue. Since the day I learned my first word, self-expression has always been second nature. I am a child prodigy of third world parents, so I have to tell my forefathers' stories on paper. Silence for too long, the strength of my tongue sentenced me to a life of righting wrongs. My penmanship bridges the gaps of intergenerational dialogues, marginalized between the lines of lands my parents traveled, sacrificing the familiarity of home to make ease for me life's inevitable battles. So who am I to not be what I was destined? Who are we to not be where we are destined? Despite school systems that labeled me and sanctioned me to detention, despite the target on my back and private funding to put my melanin in prison, correction, I will not be your stereotype. I am made from the essence of stardust above aerial heights. It is not my fault you cannot see the light in me. You cannot enlighten me on your capitalist commodities. I'm the rose that's still adapted to blossom out of colonized concrete. Capitalizing on conquered conquest my predecessors paved. Placing poetic politic on history's page. It is these pages cut from my family trees that once hung our forefathers as slaves. It is these pages I tell their stories. It is these lines they once hung from I celebrate their glory just to stay connected to my truth. See, these pages are sacred. It's how hip hop's essence began as pure truth. But see, these days, I can't relate to what a lot of rappers are saying in the booth. Because see, the spoken word is a gift. And you can emanate life or death by the mere intention coming out of your lips. We can speak dreams into existence, creating a world united or divided so you can choose to be the change or remain silenced. By size, the tongue is the strongest muscle in our bodies for a reason. By size, The tongue is the strongest muscle in our bodies for a reason. It is a tool to connect us to the divine. More than just speaking, it keeps us believing. It is a portal between time and space mixed. The inspiration of ancient hieroglyphs. See, our words can build dynasties and mend broken bonds. Our words can create vitality and give us the freedom of redemption songs. Our words can live beyond us like MLK's dream to see us free at last. So be mindful. Be mindful of the words and intentions that depart from the sacredness of your tongue. Be mindful of the words and intentions that leave the sacredness of your tongue. We are powerful. The Creator etched presence into our lungs, so you have a gift within you. Leave a legacy that will continue. Etch your name in the dendrochronology of history's pages. Do not allow the from and to on your tombstone just to be dated. Let the dash in between reveal the story you told and of the magic that you created. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. So nice to see all these faces on the camera. It's very beautiful. A lot of beautiful.
Do you have time for a question or two or a comment or?
I do. I have some time for some questions. Thank you.
Okay. Floor's open, folks. Well, let me start by just thanking you, Randell, again. You're on a tremendous path and leadership of poetry in our province, and so proud of you. So others, Jennifer, you're muted.
Well, firstly, congratulations. But I have said, and it's not a lie, that my face hurts the most when I've gone to your Rise events, and especially your Christmas event. So I just was wondering, Karen spoke about the challenges she had, and they've kind of switched to, a virtual online program. So I was just wondering, likewise, maybe, I know we're celebrating that you're the Ontario laureate, but maybe just what's the latest and greatest with Rise?
At this point in time, a lot of the work we've been doing, just like Karen mentioned, has been virtual. So we started with Instagram, but now we've realized that Zoom offers us a bit more intimacy, which I can feel and gather from here. It's not the same as being in person, but we've been doing that. In addition, a lot of what we've been doing is trying to find ways to educate young people, anybody really. We're doing workshops for anybody, but specifically, of course, youth. And the idea behind it is really giving them the necessary skills. And recently we just started a mental health program to connect youth with mental health services. Great.
Randell, there's a question in chat. I know that in the media release, you said you're going to reach out to the province, but the question is, what's your goal as the poet laureate? What are you thinking about as you move out there and into the province?
Well, for many of us who live in Southern Ontario, we haven't had the chance to go up to Northern, Eastern, Western Ontario to really see the vastness of Ontario. It's a huge province. And I think France can actually fit in Ontario maybe a few times, actually, more than a few times. But essentially, I want to be able to weave the stories and the narratives of Ontario. I want to be able for, artists, poets, anyone in Parry Sound, in Owen Sound, in Thunder Bay, in Sudbury, to really tell their story so we can better understand what Ontario is, what the lived experience is here in Ontario. I'm looking to, my biggest goal, to be honest with you, is really taking an opportunity to work with the Ministry of Education to help weave in some introspective art into the curriculum and to really help young people, use tools for self-reflection. I think a lot of young people are inundated with social media telling them who they should be, how they should be. But if we can give them the tools to really redefine themselves, I think they're going to be better prepped.
John?
Yeah, I was just wondering, one of the things that we tend to do and we've done over the last few years is the land acknowledgement. And I think we've gotten very good at that and they've become very routine. But just listening to your poetry, I'm wondering if we now should be thinking more about culture acknowledgements and history acknowledgements. Is there something that's deeper and more profound that we could do once we start to move away from this more perfunctory acknowledgement of the Indigenous peoples that founded this land?
It's a great question, John. I'll do my best to answer it. And the best that I can say is I agree that perhaps it should be culturally represented of many indigenous to Canada, of course, but either way, I don't think it should be perfunctory. I don't think it should be performative, because a lot of spaces I go to, it seems performative. It doesn't seem genuine. And I think it needs to have a level of authenticity, whether it is focused on just the indigenous of Canada or of Ontario or of Toronto or of the culturally indigenous of our globe. And I do think the latter is important, but I think it's really about how do we do that and maintain authentic and genuine about it. But that's a great idea, John. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Larry, I know you had a question in the chat. Randell, there's your phrase "speak dreams into existence" resonated with a lot of people. Comments, I love the goal that you've articulated regarding empowerment and enabling young people to explore and define themselves. So that's resonating quite a bit. Larry, you had a question, comment?
Yeah. First of all, a comment, then, because I want to fit that in too. First of all, Randell, it's been great to see you being feted today. I've been seeing you a few times on the news, and it's great that you never shy away from the fact of saying that you're from Scarborough and you love Scarborough. I saw you today in front of the Scarborough Civic Center. It's great to have you as an ambassador for Scarborough as you launch into this new role, and I'm hoping that you'll carry that ambassadorship feel with you as you're touring other parts of Ontario and talking about all good things Scarborough as you sort of spread the word through other parts of the province. So I just wanted to plant that seed. And as far as a question is concerned, just based on your own life experiences, if you could suggest maybe one or two things when you're now in a position where you're able to provide guidance to people like yourself who are now 10, 15 years younger. And in terms of giving them the tools, the guidance, the thoughts to make the kind of right life choices at a pivotal stage in life, so that they don't have to go through what you've come through and come out the other way. Do you have opportunities to provide that? I mean, I almost think of it as calling it fatherly advice based on the experiences that you've had, in a way that that can help young adults, teenagers make good choices in life. And sorry, that question was a little bit mangled.
No worries. I think I got the premise of it, and also a great question. Essentially for me, there's something about having a lack thereof that will kind of give you a sense of what I would have needed that would have been helpful. So when I look back when I was a little bit younger in high school or in middle school, I feel as though by not having certain guidance is why I wanted to be that guidance for a lot of young folks, right? And it's really taking a moment to understand that although I didn't have it, although I wasn't shown what it looked like, perhaps I can dive in and think, what could it have looked like? Or how could it have benefited me, essentially? But to add to that, luckily, I'll have the opportunity to work with many school boards across Ontario to really weave in some curriculum, and this is curriculum that can teach young people about themselves. I'm not sure about y'all, but in school, nobody taught me about who I was as a person, or what I cared about, or what my vision was, what my passion was. And I can imagine if young people are given those opportunities to think about what is my purpose and what am I doing here, I feel as though it would really propel our future. We often think of young people as negative, but they're brilliant. I think they just don't have the opportunities and the platform. And through this opportunity, I'm hoping to be a platform for more young people, especially the Poet Laureate will have a website, and to give young people an opportunity to showcase their work.
Thank you. Charlie, you had a comment or question?
Yeah, first of all, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy, especially like for the youth, everything you're going to bring to this. I know how you affect a community and how you raise them, and to be a part of seeing this, it's amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And then, so my question is, because I know you live Scarborough, where is like, if someone were to say like, take me to the heart of Scarborough for you, where's like the first place you would take them?
That's so hard to say. That's really hard to say. Oh, you would ask that, Charlie. I would say there's something about nature, you know? There's something about nature. I would take them to Rise HQ for sure.
Yeah.
I think there's something about nature, you know, something about how nature in Scarborough, how we inhabit it, how we really live with nature here in Scarborough in so many different ways. We're surrounded by parks, we're surrounded by water. So there's a park that I've been going to, and it's called Sylvan Park. It's just a little bit east of the bluffs. Like I can't even explain how much I love that park, because there's this cliff where you can look at Lake Ontario. You can also walk down and just, you know, and it also has the memorial, it's a piece, I forget what it's called, but it was essentially it was a celebration of the amalgamation of Toronto and Scarborough in 1999. So I take them there because there's something special about being by the water and being in nature. And to me, that'd be the heart of Scarborough, because it's peaceful, it's wild, and everything in between, you know. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Great. Any other comments or questions? Manny.
First of all, congratulations. I think that's fantastic for you. But I'm gonna ask a question of pre-poet laureate. How did the process happen, like that you became the poet laureate? How did that happen? That came across that, because we know this government is sort of a pro-business type of government. So how did it come about? I'm curious. That's all.
So I've learned a lot, actually, and that's a great question, Manny. So essentially, NDP MPP Percy Hatfield of Windsor, he actually brought this to the table in 2014, and the opposition government pushed it down 2014, 2015, and essentially, basically what happened in 2018, it was put on the table, and in 2019, it was approved to move forward and with respect to the process. But of course, with COVID, things were a bit of a challenge. So I got the email from Ontario Arts Council back in June of last year. And I remember thinking, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure if I want to do it, but I just kind of left it on the table, got busy. And essentially, Mitzi Hunter called me, and Mitzi said, Randell, you're applying, right? And I said, no, I'm not. She said, Randell, yes, you are. And I said, okay. So I applied. And after I applied, the process took from end of September up until, I believe it was early February or late January, where they contacted me and said I moved on to the second round. Once I moved on to the second round, there's a panel of judges from the CEO of OAC, the executive librarian of the legislature, Vicky Whitmel, the Speaker of the House, and then Willow Downey was also on the panel as well. So I totally forgot this, but essentially this is in honor of Gord Downey's life. This is a part of his legacy and what he was able to do. And so I see connections with myself and Gord because we speak about truth and we put truth to justice. And it's really about how do we use our voice to amplify the silence and the voiceless. So after the second interview, they called me and said, now it needs to go to legislature, it needs to be passed, and it needs to be put on the table. And because the opposition government, they're very at odds for the last couple, they've just been at odds. It took a while, but luckily there was a member of the Conservative government that was actually, that was able to put on the table. And then yesterday was the announcement. Thanks, Manny. Great question. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good. Any other questions or comments? And also, Karen, there's a number of comments in chat as well, just congratulating the vision and the legacy that Variety Village plays in sports and world caliber competitions. So just to let you know that there's a lot of great feeling for Variety Village, and it's been a really good night. You know, I'm so proud of everything everybody's doing. Anything else that anybody wants to chat or mention before we close off? I've got John Ramdin. Go ahead, please. And
yeah, my question is for Karen. Karen, great presentation today. I was just curious to know what happens to the young people when they graduate from Variety Village. What do they go on to next?
Yes, it really depends on what they want to do. So we hope to equip these youngsters with the confidence that they can achieve whatever they set their heart to. And in the face of adversity and sometimes setbacks and hearing a lot of no, you can't, we like to be the place that is, yes, you can. And once they believe, then they can go on to do incredible things. And so we've had ambassadors go on to post-secondary college. We've had ambassadors go on to sport. We've had some ambassadors, just go on and be community leaders. And so there's not one path out of Variety. It's really how we set these kids up to achieve, and then they go from there. And then we also do have a program for kids that have aged out of school, and they may not know, their path may not be as clear. So we do have a program for older students, young adults, where they can again come back and get some life skills, socialize, and have opportunities for recreation.
Thank you. Randell, I know we're getting close to the time where you're heading to CP24. I do see a couple of hands up, so if you kind of ring off, that's fine, but you're happy to stay. Let's see if there's any more questions. Gerard?
Yeah, John Mason put a question in the chat, and it's a question of Randall, is how could SCRO help you, especially since your background and you're focused in Scarborough?
Thank you. I really, really, really appreciate it. I would say for now, when I think about poetry, yes, I mentioned a lot about youth, but I think how and I'm gonna think about this question a little bit more, to be honest with you. But I feel like what I would love to do right now at this point in time is I'd love to be able to organize some poetry readings and some speeches for some of our the name is escaping me right now. Our care facilities for some of the elderly. It'd be great if I could get connected. I think the isolation I know is very real. If there's an opportunity to go and read or perhaps galvanize some talent to read, of course, socially distanced, I would love to see that, just to let, be a reminder that they're not alone. For the time being, if anything changes because things are still new, I will reach out. But thank you for asking that, Gerard, and I'll keep it in mind that SCRO has been and is always a supporter of my initiative. So thank you.
Thank you.
Larry, you have your hand up.
Yeah, this is for Karen this time. Karen, I know that friends of mine actually have memberships at Variety Village. Non-disabled individuals have memberships, and I know that's not your core business, but I know that you do have individual and family memberships available for people who would like to use the facility, and I assume do so in compatible ways with your clients with disabilities. But can you tell us more about the facility as it relates to that part of your business and what kind of integration issues are involved?
Yeah, thank you. We call Variety Village our social enterprise. And we have a mission to help kids with disabilities, but our social enterprise is Variety Village. And so it's a 178,000 square foot facility. We have an Olympic-sized pool. Bye, Randell. We have a 200-meter track, 3 indoor basketball courts. We have a cardio room, a weight room. Downstairs, we have a taekwondo facility. And we operate as a fitness club for many of our community members. At our height, we had about 6,000 members that were coming to Variety Village. And now we're open on a limited capacity. The government did pass a regulation that we could open to serve people with disabilities in a limited capacity. So we do have people coming in to use the pool, the cardio room, and walk the track. And it's fully integrated. And we're open from 6 in the morning till 10 at night. And although we have particular programs to support kids with disabilities, our facility is open and it's a welcoming space and we welcome everybody in. And for those that there's a fee, of course, but for people who have economic challenges, we do have a subsidy that we provide so that no one is left.
Great, thank you. I'm going to start winding things down. First of all, I just want to make sure that you're all aware, if you're not members of SCRO, membership is open, and you're lucky that there's no cost right now. Just we managed to pull that off, get our financing right, and so on. So if you're not a member of SCRO, please get on the website and join. Gerard, I know there's a next event we have coming up, and you wanted to talk about that. You're muted, Gerard.
Yes, our next event is in 2 weeks, where Jillian Mason will be talking about Scarborough's major public institution and how they're leveraging their full value in post-COVID economic recovery. We do not have as yet the highlight speaker. This will be to be announced, but if you check back, yeah, possibly again in social media, we'll have that. So you can register for the event right now at scro.ca, our Scarborough, and see you in a couple of weeks. So I'll beg off now. Back to you.